2 years ago, 1:30 a.m. in the morning, I remember waking up in my room to the sound of my mom's cries echoing throughout the house. 1:31 a.m. I remember jumping out of bed and running into my parents' room. 1:32 a.m. I watched as my mom lied lifelessly on the ground with the cell phone clasped to her chest. 1:35 a.m. on a Thursday night, I remember the news that would change my dad's life and strongly impact my whole family forever. My dad's best friend, who my family had been extremely close with, had died from an opioid overdose. Opioids. What exactly are they? Opioids are a class of drugs naturally found in the opium poppy plant. Opioids are often used as medicines because they contain chemicals that relax the body and can relieve pain. Prescription opioids have important medicinal uses for relief of severe acute pain, end-of-life pain, for relief of diarrhea, and it is a cough depressant. How opioids affect the brain. Opioids bind to and activate opioid receptors on cells located in many areas of the body, especially those involved in feelings of pain and pleasure. When opioids attach to these receptors, they block pain signals sent from the brain to the body and release large amounts of dopamine throughout the body. This release can strongly reinforce the act of taking the drug, making the user want to repeat the experience. In simple terms, opioids can relieve pain and make people feel relaxed and happy. Opioids sound pretty harmless, right? What's the big hype if they free you from your pain? Let's go more into depth with a little background information. Opioids have been around since the 1800s, but were never really used until the 1900s. As the 1980s hit, doctors all around the world started to see how effective opioids were in curing pain, especially horrible pain seen in cancer patients or in patients who had an injury. Jane Ballantyne, a British-born doctor who was head of the pain department at Harvard and its associated hospital, drank up the promise of opioid painkiller drugs in the late 1900s. Ballantyne listened to her colleagues who painted the drugs as magic bullets against the source of chronic pain hurting millions of American lives. Her colleagues proclaimed that the risk of addiction from narcotic painkillers was less than 1%, and the dosages could be increased without limit until the pain was overcome. This was a major lie that many still believe to this day and needs to be fixed. Anyone who takes prescription opioids can become addicted to them. In fact, as many as 1 in 4 patients receiving long-term opioid therapy in a primary care setting struggles with opioid addiction. In 2016, more than 11.5 million Americans reported misusing prescription opioids in the last year. Also in 2016, the number of overdose deaths was over 59,000, the largest annual jump in American history. Roughly 42,000 of them were caused by opioid overdoses. In 2017, drug overdoses killed more than 72,000 people in the U.S., a majority of the deaths, nearly 49,000, caused by opioids, and the biggest driver was the dangerous synthetic opioid fentanyl, which killed more than 29,000 people. So many people believe that if doctors are prescribing the medication, that they should be fine and that they won't develop a tolerance to this drug. Tolerance is a pharmacological property defined by the need to increase doses in order to maintain the effects of the medication. Basically, people who are taking the drug realizes that it frees them from all of their pain. The drug makes them feel happy and relaxed, and people are finding that they need more and more of the medication to feel the same relief as when they first started. Opioids are extremely addictive, which is why it is incredibly hard to quit due to now being dependent on the drug to give you relief, even if you aren't in pain anymore. People who abuse opioids find themselves experiencing withdrawal symptoms within 5 days since stopping the medication. People all around the world have shared their stories of opioid addiction. People know that they will overdose if they keep on using the drug, but the risk of going through withdrawal is always a huge fear in people's minds. In a recent TED Talk, Travis Ryder talked about his journey through opioid withdrawal and how hard it was to stay strong and not resort back to the drug. There were different agonizing symptoms that came with each week. The withdrawal first started out feeling like a bad case of the flu. Then he started to lose his appetite and found himself not being able to sleep. These symptoms led up to him finding himself depressed, and him thinking that, if the symptoms don't kill me, I would kill myself. Yet Travis is not alone. Other people also feel the same things when trying to quit. Yet no matter how many times people try to quit, they find themselves always having to come back because the symptoms from withdrawal are so bad. Chris Stewart wrote about a woman named Carly Smith who was addicted to opioids. With an 8-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son, Carly had been trying to get free of opioids for most of her children's lives. She told Chris that, "I tried to overdose so many times. I can actually remember being jealous of the people that got to die. My plan was to throw myself in front of a moving vehicle or throw myself over a bridge. I just couldn't decide what was going to be least painful." Despite the drugs being able to free patients from their pain, it leaves people with a knowing thought that they will forever be trapped in this addiction to opioids, making people feel that they will never ever be themselves again. On top of that, if you have children or are planning on having them in the future, know that according to J.B. Wogan, opioid addiction created a variety of stresses on the child welfare system. The annual number of children taken into custody has climbed 11% in the years. To top it off, a graphic image made its way into the heart of Facebook by police from East Liverpool, Ohio. In the image, a man and a woman sit unconscious in the front seat of an SUV, slumped at impossible angles, mouths agape. Meanwhile, a 4-year-old blonde child stares from the back seat. A child, in the car, while 2 adults are dead from overdose in the front seat. Think about it. If you are addicted to opioids with kids, you could have your kid taken away from you and put into custody. If you were to become addicted, would you always be able to be there for your kids, or would the addiction consume you? To top it all off, misuse of prescription opioids such as Oxycontin is inextricably linked with that of street drugs such as heroin. Once doctors stop prescribing the opioids to their clients, the patients then must find other cheaper alternatives, such as heroin, to be able to achieve the same effects. Since opioids are a lot of money as well, heroin is the cheaper solution. So why? Why, after knowing all of this information, would you still use prescription opioids? Oh yeah, to treat the pain. Opioids should not be your first resort, your second, or even your third. There are other things to try first. One of the things being music. Evidence obtained through scientific research now confirms that hearing a favorite piece of music will help the brain release natural opioids. Findings have also shown and confirmed that spinal cord stimulation therapy can offer strong benefits for patients struggling with chronic pain. Also, acupuncture, chiropractic treatments, and exercise show similar effects on the body that opioids also produce. So there are other solutions to try first. Please take into consideration these other solutions. The news that I found out that Thursday night on May 19, 2016, was that my dad's best friend died due to opioid overdose. A man with so much love in his heart for his kids and family, a hard-working husband to his amazing wife, a best friend to my dad and mom, and like a second father to my sister and I. He was gone in just one night. My name is Kaylee Nicosia, and I don't want but need people to understand just how severe this opioid epidemic really is. My cousins are now becoming lost, finding that their addiction is eating them alive, and my uncle still struggles to this day to make up all the time that he lost while trying to find himself in the mess of always needing more of the drug. 3 weeks ago, my best friend Molly was just prescribed opioids for her back. I am happy to say that I influenced her to say no, and she will never be another statistic who died due to overdosing on opioids. I hope after watching this video that you too will also choose to not be another statistic.